Doctors, what's the creepiest case you've ever encountered? I've been a doctor for 10 years and have come across a lot of weird cases, but nothing like this. I was working the night shift and that's when most of the weird activity happens. As I was making my rounds on the East Wing, a few nurses brought in a man who looked unconscious and covered in wounds, no pulse and pupils dilated. I could have called it right then and there, but for whatever reason, I knew he wasn't completely deceased. I checked all the vitals and pupillary response and nothing, but the thing was, this man had begun to twitch, was cold to the touch and skin was pale as plain paper. You would swear he was dead, but it seemed a little premature to declare him. When I opened his mouth I got the shock of my life. Immediately I backed up and had my nurses take him to a private room. Immediately, I began to hyperventilate at the sight. After calming down I went to a private room and instructed the nurses to strap him down. They just looked at me like I was crazy. They questioned why I instructed this. As they did so, I asked one of the nurses to leave, leaving me with the senior nurse who I had been working with for some time now. I went and slid the door and locked it as my nurse just watched. I looked at her and I could tell she could see the fear in my face, and she asked, "What's wrong with you? Haven't seen you this shaken up since your first day." I looked at her and smirked nervously, and I walked up to the man, opened his mouth and shone my hand light inside. I looked at her and replied, "What do you see here? What does that look like to you?" She leans in, looking inside the man's mouth unimpressed for a few seconds, and her eyes widen suddenly. "The hell? Are those real?" She whispers as I begin to venture his gum lines, inspecting all the teeth he had, and I pull back and stay on the chair behind me as she starts to hyperventilate herself. "Those can't be real, like maybe cosmetic surgery or something, right?" I shake my head, disagreeing with her statement. The gum line isn't torn and doesn't look to be any tampering. Now, if I'm not mistaken, humans don't have teeth like that, and they definitely don't have 4 of them on the canine teeth. What I think we have here is something we aren't supposed to have in our hospital. She looks at me with wide eyes with her hands on her heart holding a cross. "You don't think? I mean, is that possible?" I shake my head. "I don't know, honestly. I think what we have here is the impossible. I don't even want to say it, but I think we have a mutant in the hospital." We sat in silence for a few minutes, wondering what to do next as this man tossed slightly, still strapped down. Stumped at what to do next, I felt it was my duty to protect the people in the ER, and I decided to take this man or thing to a safer location of the hospital. Paranoia hit me like a ton of bricks as I stood over this being in front of me. I instructed the nurse to open the door as I began to will him out of the room before putting a blanket over his entire body and hiding his face, which seemed pretty much human. I managed to will him past a few doors, and without warning, I was approached by these men in suits and sunglasses, looking like government officials. They stopped the gurney and held their hands out, stopping me from going any further. They took the man down the hallway as one official looked me up and down and without a word, walked away just like nothing had happened. I managed to follow them to the back entrance and see them loading the man into the back of a black van, followed by several other black cars, which I thought was strange. They drove off as quickly as they came, and just like that, they were gone.